Hey there, Cat.
Hello!
I haven't seen you here in quite a while.
Well, I've been traveling around the world.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
Well, did you have anything good to eat while you were traveling around?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's this nice Italian recipe that I want to share with you.
An Italian recipe? Italian recipe for what?
For a tomato pasta sauce.
So you're going to teach us the 3-ingredient recipe?
Of course! Why else would I be here?
My goodness. Well, do I at least get to cook it?
I suppose I'll let you do that.
All right. Well,
On one condition.
what?
That I get to eat it.
Oh, of course. You always get to eat. My guests always get to eat the things that we cook on 3-ingredient recipes.
Then it is a deal.
All right. So,
Yay!
okay, let's get to the 3 ingredients.
So, our first ingredient, what do you think that is?
Apples?
In a tomato sauce?
Oh, that's right. Tomatoes.
Yes, of course it's a tomato.
Okay, so how much are we going to use?
2 pounds.
2 pounds of tomatoes?
2 pounds.
Now, I guess this is a fresh tomato sauce.
Of course it's a fresh tomato sauce. I would never have any of the canned variety.
Wonderful. So we're going to use 2 pounds of fresh tomatoes. That smells really good.
Yes, it's fresh basil.
Ooh, fresh basil. You know, we have this in our garden.
Ooh, well, that's where I got it from. A little pack rat gave it to me, I guess, I think.
Oh, Simon. Yes.
Of course, yes.
So how much basil are we supposed to use?
Oh, well, that depends on your taste. A handful of it, and just, if you like more basil, have more basil.
All right, so basil to taste. Obviously, the best basil is from your garden, and luckily, we just happen to have a whole herb garden filled with basil plants. So I'm going to just pluck off a number of leaves, and we're going to use that in our sauce. Well, what is this? This looks like cheese, but just like the leftover bits from it.
That's exactly what it is. It's a Parmesan rind. It's wonderful in sauces.
A Parmesan rind?
Yes, it's the hard stuff at the end after you put the softer, nuttier cheese in there. It's great for flavoring.
Oh, wonderful. So how much of this are we going to use?
2 of them.
2 large pieces of Parmesan rind.
Yes.
All right, so you better tell me the rest of the recipe so that we can make this for people. This sounds...
Come here.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
And furthermore...
Oh, okay.
And now you know.
All right, so this is a garden fresh tomato spaghetti sauce. It doesn't have any garlic, it doesn't have any onion, so I would imagine...
It's only 3 ingredients.
Right, so I would imagine this tastes just like fresh vegetables and herbs with a
course.
little bit of a cheesy twist to it.
Yes.
Sounds delicious. It sounds very much a good thing for summertime.
Are you ready to get cooking?
All right, I will get cooking.
Get cooking.
I'm working with 2 kinds of tomatoes today. I have beefsteak tomatoes that look really good, and then I also have these vine-ripened tomatoes. The best tomatoes would obviously come from out of your own garden or out of a neighbor's garden. Around these parts, we're in Boston, and it is just about July. The tomato plants haven't quite taken sprout yet, so we don't have any fruit from those. So we're just using what we can get at the market. So I'm going to just use these tomatoes, which are actually quite tasty. I like the vine-ripened ones because they add a lot of sweetness and also color. They get a lot darker, whereas the beefsteak tomatoes are nice and hearty, and they're going to add a lot of bulk to the sauce. So to start, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring over a bowl. I'll bring that over in a second. The first thing I'm going to do is just cut out the core. Just be careful with this part. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut these into quarters. And then I want to seed these tomatoes. I don't want a sauce that has a lot of the seeds and the pulp in here. The easiest way to seed a tomato is just to take a quarter of it and just squeeze the living daylights out of it. That little core is going to get out of here. Then you have a seeded tomato. It makes your workspace entirely disgusting. It feels really kind of weird and goopy in your hands, and it's absolutely a ton of fun. Just squeezing tomatoes, getting juice everywhere, popping out those little cores. So if you have a little bit of aggression during the day, you can just squeeze some tomatoes, make a sauce, you'll have some great dinner, and you'll also have a whole bunch of pulp right over here. Okay, I have spent a lot of time cutting up and seeding all of these tomatoes. I have put about 2 pounds of these tomatoes, both the beefsteak and the vine-ripened tomatoes, into my heavy-duty food processor. I'm now going to just break these down. I want a lot of liquid here. I like a rather smooth sauce. If you like it chunkier, then you can just stop when it's at a more chunky texture. You can also just throw these directly into the pan and then break them up with a potato masher when you're done for a really, really chunky, very garden-style sauce. Like I said, I really like a smooth sauce, so that's what I'm going to do. Alright, this is a nice smooth, it still has quite a bit of chunk in it, but it is a nice smooth consistency, and we're going to just bring this over to our pan. I have added the tomato mixture to a pan that's on the stove already. Now, I like to simmer this sauce for a good long time, maybe a half an hour to an hour. If you really want a garden fresh taste, you can certainly just heat it through and just let the herbs and the tomatoes speak for themselves. But I have this Parmesan rind. I'm going to actually put in a couple of large pieces into this mixture. Now this won't, a little bit of the Parmesan is going to melt, but what this is going to do is replace the salt and the fat that you would normally put into a fresh sauce like this. So we're going to let the Parmesan, the salt, and the fat from that, and also the creaminess from the milk that's in the Parmesan, take over for that. That's going to give it a deeper flavor than you might get with just the tomatoes. I'm also going to use quite a bit of basil. Now this is a huge handful for such a small amount of sauce, but I'm just going to rip this up. This is straight out of my garden. I don't mind really big chunks of basil in a sauce like this because it's supposed to remind you of the garden. I've mixed this all through. It's just the Parmesan rind, the basil, and some ground tomatoes that are all fresh. I'm now going to put this on low and I am going to simmer it for about an hour, maybe even a little bit more. What I want is to make sure that all the flavors meld together and that you get a nice sauce that not only does it taste fresh, but it also tastes very rich. We have had our sauce simmering for about an hour. It hasn't really broken down much. That's not what we're looking for. We're not looking for a sauce that's going to have that long, slow cooked flavor. What we're looking for is something that tastes like the 3 ingredients that are in it. So it's going to taste like tomatoes, basil, and Parmesan cheese. Just a hint of the Parmesan to give it some creaminess and to give it a little bit of salt. So this is going to go right on top of our spaghetti or whatever else you want. It would make a great pizza sauce as well. And then we'll see how it turns out in just a moment. Now we have this on some pasta. And to finish this off, I'm just going to take a hint from the ingredients in the sauce and I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese right to the top. And then some of my basil I've reserved, and I'm just going to put a little bit of fresh basil right on top of that. Now this tastes just like it came out of the garden. It's a very fresh sauce. It's going to be delicious, and I'm going to see how Cat likes it. I didn't realize I was going to have to feed you too.
Of course, it's in my contract.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, are you full?
Just need to wipe my face a little.
Oh, well, I thought that cats clean themselves by licking themselves.
It's a red sauce. White cat, white fur. You do the math.
All right. Well, as you can see, we have a very fresh, it tastes just like it came straight out of the garden.
It did?
This isn't a sauce that has a lot of have you ever heard of depth of flavor?
Tell me about it.
All right. Depth of flavor is when you have a lot of flavors that meld together to make one really deep, rich flavor, like a spaghetti sauce that you would have on the stove all day long.
Yes, so this is more of more of a tomatoey.
Exactly. So this tastes just like, it's just a couple of notes, but it's very light, very delicious, and it would be great. It's great for tonight. It's a summertime night, and this is terrific for our meal for tonight.
Yay! Aren't you glad I came from my trip?
I'm so glad that you made it back.
Yay!
Well, Ketta, that was a terrific summertime meal.
I totally agree.
Did you have a good time being on 3 Ingredient Recipes?
I always have good times here.
Well, fantastic. If you enjoyed watching 3 Ingredient Recipes, why don't you subscribe? All you have to do is hit the little red subscribe button down below.
Or you can comment and make little notes there for me to read.
Yes, if you have a note for Ketta, why don't you leave it down below? He would love to read your notes. And what else can they do if they like this channel?
Tell it to everybody.
Exactly. One of the best things you can do is share this video. If you put a link to it on Twitter, share it on your Facebook, that's fantastic for us. So I'm here every Thursday with a different helper. Hopefully Ketta won't take another long trip and he'll be back soon.
You don't like my traveling?
I like your traveling, but I like having you here doing recipes with
Well,
me.
there's only one person a week. I can make appearances.
Oh, okay. Well,
Maybe I'll do it live via satellite one time.
oh my goodness. Well, Ketta will show up whenever the heck he feels like it. We also do other things on this channel on weekends. George, you know George, he's another cat.
Another cat.
Yep.
But not a cata!
No, there's only one Ketta. And George and his friends talk about good self-esteem. And then on Tuesdays, I talk about long hair.
Do you have self-esteem with that?
I do. Well, that's good. So thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you again. And until next time, bye-bye.
Ta-ta!
We also do other. No,
You have a blooper.
that's not gonna work. Okay.